Do you have your doubts? Can you get this done by the end of the year?
Yeah, I think we can, and we need to. I'm going to go back to the Ukraine first, if you don't mind. I'm the last Vietnam veteran serving in the United States Senate, retired Navy captain, and I've flown a lot of missions all over Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War. And I remember we flew a lot of missions out of Taiwan. I remember the Taiwanese people saying to me, even back then during the Vietnam War, they were fearful of China. And if we allow Putin to be successful in Ukraine and quash the democracy that's been our ally forever, and the next action will occur in the other side of the world with China coming after Taiwan, and we can stop that. We need to stop that. I would just say that as the idea. Dwight Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush must be rolling in their graves. The idea that Republicans would be really complicit with allowing the Russians to succeed in the Ukraine. That would be appalling, a terrible mistake.
Not all Republicans don't want to see aid to Ukraine, but I think by and large, most Republicans want to see a bigger package, which the president also called for more aid to the southern border. Republicans also just want some changes when it comes to asylum laws and parole. And the fact of the matter is, the Senate is going to be out December 15th. So how do you make sure Ukraine funding gets done on top of these other priorities before the end of the year?
Yeah, this president believes that all diplomacy is personally, believes that all politics is personal. And I think what this president is really good at is bringing Democrats and Republicans to the White House, say, all right, we've got to find a way to, yes, the president has he's fallen in line and basically provided great leadership in increasing Border Patrol numbers. We're about 20-some thousand increased, and he's asking for about another 1,500 more asylum officers, a better technology at the border to detect fentanyl coming in. I mean, there's the makings for a solution. There's a makings for a bipartisan solution. And this president's actually pretty good at finding the middle with Mitch McConnell. My hope is, as Mitch sort of steps back a little bit as the leader of the Republican caucus, my hope is that the president will engage and invite in the way that he's really good at on a broader package.
You're, of course, an ally of President Biden. You're a Democrat serving in his home state of Delaware. When you talk to Joe Biden, does he believe that this can get done before the end of the year? We've already been told from this new Speaker of the House, for instance, that bill cannot pass the House and he won't bring it to the floor. He wants to cut these up into individual bills: Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan. Of course, Ukraine tied to border here. At some point, somebody needs to blink, Senator. What does Joe Biden tell you about the way this ends? The president is a skillful negotiator. He's found common cause with more Republicans over my lifetime, his lifetime, than just about anybody that I know. I think the key is to get the right players, the right folks in a room and in the White House. And I'll give you a good example. Here's what happened. He'd been president for like a week. And I was becoming the senior member, the chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee, which has jurisdiction over water, wastewater, roads, highways, bridges. And he said, tell me, bring about a half dozen of your colleagues, Democrat and Republican colleagues, over to the White House, and let's talk about a bipartisan infrastructure bill. And literally, and when we had a great meeting. At the end of that meeting, he said to me, this was like, he'd been president for like 2 weeks. He said, come back to me by the end of this year, give me a bipartisan bill, and we'll sign it into law. And we did it. And we did it. It really started with his taking the initiative and bringing us in to the Oval Office. We found common cause, and we passed the biggest infrastructure bill ever.
So do you think you'll be here past December 15th to get this done? Senator Tester says he's willing to stay here 24/7. He used an explicitive word, but he says he'll be here on explicitive Christmas Day to get Ukraine funding done.
Absolutely. The idea of walking away from Ukraine would be something that we would regret for decades as a nation. And I think, have an obligation to make sure that Israel gets the support that we've offered, to make sure that the folks that are being dispossessed, displaced, and get some help as well. We need to make progress toward a two-state solution. That, in the end, that's the main thing that we need to do, two-state solution. And that's got to remain a high priority.
Well, while we're talking about our military and our own military readiness, never mind supporting our allies in conflict right now, Senator,
The NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, appears to be moving in the Senate. Here you have a deal. It's $886 billion that negotiators came to. And the Senate's going to need to move on this pretty quickly to avoid an interruption. Will you vote for the package that's been hammered out now? Will that vote happen today?
Actually, we've been voting today on NDAA-related matters. I think it has bipartisan support. I applaud the Democratic and Republican chair and ranking member. They've done a great job taking a lot of input and forming a bipartisan bill that I think can get bipartisan support passed, be enacted by the president, should.
When it comes to Israel, you signed a letter today that countries getting military aid need to comply with international law. Are you concerned that Israel is not complying with international law when it comes to warfare?
Yeah, I want to make sure that, if we were Israelis and we were attacked the way they were by Hamas, what was it, almost a month ago now, we would want to make sure it never happened again. And I can understand it. It's fully understandable. The Israelis need to be able to protect themselves. Having said that, there's a lot of collateral damage, and people, women, children, kids, and so forth, that are getting hurt, getting killed, and injured. We want to make sure at the end of the day, the Israelis, both things happen. The Israelis have the ability to protect themselves, and if there are others that are harmed, we reduce as much as we can. The Israelis reduce as much as we can for the loss of life and injury to innocent Palestinian people. But again, the key here is that the goal that should be in our minds, a two-state solution. If we don't help them achieve a two-state solution, it's not on us, it's on them. But if we don't help them achieve a two-state solution, 100 years from now, they're still going to be fighting like this. The key is the two-state solution. And I remember going at the urging of then-President Bill Clinton to meet with Ehud Barak, who was the brand new Prime Minister of Israel. This was when I'd been governor, actually not even a year, and to meet with Yasser Arafat in Ramallah, and presented them both a two-state solution proposal from the Clinton administration. And Arafat said, he said, if I do that, if I take these steps, I'll be a dead man. And they chose not to, and I said, you'll never get a better deal than this, and they let it slip away.